The interrogation chamber aboard the Valkyrie warship was built to break even the strongest of minds. Its walls pulsed with bioluminescent veins that gave off an eerie, shifting glow, as though the room itself were alive and watching. The air trembled with a low-frequency hum, barely audible but unsettling enough to disrupt the neurological stability of most sentient beings. It was a place meant to crush resistance before a single question was asked. Ambassador Neiral Lith, a seasoned diplomat of the Galactic Concord and a Lumidian known for her ability to read physiological cues with unnerving precision, had seen beings from a dozen hardened species crumble within minutes in this room. Yet the human before her, bound at the wrists in restraints that seemed more ceremonial than necessary, sat upright and composed, as if he were waiting to give a lecture rather than face an alien interrogation. Professor Daniel Chen, Earth's foremost xenobiologist, had been captured during a Valkyrie raid on Research Station Epsilon. While other prisoners screamed and sobbed in neighboring chambers, Chen simply observed his environment with a detached, academic interest. Neiral circled him, her translucent skin displaying the steady rhythm of her internal fluids, revealing no deception in her words. "Your cortisol levels are remarkably stable," she said, more puzzled than impressed. Chen met her gaze with a calm smile. "Fear doesn't always look like panic," he replied. "Are humans immune to fear?" she asked, genuinely curious. "Hardly," Chen said. "We experience fear quite intensely." "Then why are you composed?" "Our scans confirm you know exactly what's happening." "I do," he said plainly. "You've seen what the Valkyrie do to prisoners?" "Yes." "Then why aren't you afraid?" she pressed. Chen tilted his head slightly, eyes scanning her like a biologist examining a specimen. "Tell me, Ambassador, what do you know about Earth's history?" Neiral's fingers flicked through a floating holographic interface, images and data swirling into view. "Your species survived multiple extinction-level events. You developed spaceflight within 2 centuries of discovering atomic energy. Your planet is categorized as a Class 9 death world, due to its violent weather, high gravity, and extreme biodiversity." Chen nodded. "That's the scientific summary. But what do you know about our conflicts?" Something in his tone made the fluid in her body slow. "Your species experienced several global wars before achieving unification," she said carefully. Chen leaned forward slightly. "We had thousands of wars. Before we reached the stars, we spent millennia fighting each other, killing in more creative and devastating ways each century. And when we weren't at war, we were preparing for the next one." "Many species have violent pasts," Neiral said, though her voice had lost some of its steadiness. "Not like ours," Chen said. "Humanity is unique. We didn't just engage in war. We refined it. Perfected it. We turned warfare into an art form, then a science, then an industry. We created weapons capable of wiping out all life on our planet many times over, and built systems to deliver those weapons in minutes." Neiral involuntarily took a step closer, compelled despite herself. "And yet, you survived." "We didn't just survive," Chen said, voice quiet but resolute. "We thrived on conflict. We made legends out of war. Our greatest heroes are often our most efficient killers. The Valkyrie evolved as apex predators, yes, dominant in every ecosystem you conquered. But we were prey. Fragile. Vulnerable. Our ancestors had no claws, no armor, no venom. So we made tools. And then we made fire. And then we made strategy. We learned to plan. To cooperate. To adapt. Through sheer bloody-minded determination, we climbed the food chain. Our vulnerability made us vicious." A cold shiver ran through Neiral's body as her species' advanced monitors began registering her own rising stress levels. Her fear response had begun to trigger, his remained non-existent. "You still haven't answered my question," she said, regaining her posture. "Why aren't you afraid?" Chen's expression shifted only slightly, the hint of a smile growing. Because I know something you don't. Her eyes narrowed. And what's that? The distress signal from Epsilon Station was received 13 hours ago. For the first time, doubt flickered across Neyral's face. Impossible, she said. The Valkyrie jammed all outgoing communications. They tried, Chen said. But after centuries of governments and corporations trying to suppress and intercept human communications, we've gotten very good at making sure our messages get through. A low, deep rumble vibrated through the chamber. Another followed, louder this time. Lights flickered. Then, without warning, red alarm klaxons blared through the ship. Neyral CY. That would be the Fifth Fleet, he said calmly. Your fleet is light years away, Neyral said, but her voice no longer held certainty. We're light years away, Chen corrected. We don't leave our own behind. Not ever. The chamber door hissed open with a sharp pneumatic release. A tall Valkyrie commander entered, his posture rigid, his head bowed slightly in something that resembled submission. The human vessels have disabled our weapons and propulsion systems, he said. Their commander demands the immediate release of all prisoners. Neyral looked at him, stunned. You surrendered, she asked. The commander's expression was unreadable. They targeted our bridge from orbit with surgical precision. No fatalities. Then they transmitted visuals, records of what happened to the last empire that tried to imprison humans. As the restraints around Chen's wrists released with a soft hiss, he stood slowly, dusted off his research coat, and straightened. He walked past Neyral, pausing beside H. Enough for her to hear. I'm not afraid, Ambassador, he said. Because humanity has learned something vital in its long, bloody history. He looked her in the eye. There are predators. There are prey. And then, there are humans. Neyral's internal systems surged with cold fluid as her fear peaked. In that moment, she finally understood. The galaxy had treated Earth as a scientific curiosity, a violent anomaly, a death world that, against all odds, had produced intelligent life. But they should have been building walls, not laboratories. What they considered dangerous, they had only barely begun to comprehend. Humanity wasn't just another species, it was a warning written in blood and fire across the stars, a relentless force born of adversity, and now it had arrived not as a desperate survivor, but as a sovereign power. And when humans come for their own, they don't negotiate. They don't retreat. They return with precision, fury, and memory. She remained silent as Chen exited the chamber, his steps steady, unhurried, already knowing the war was over, not because of weapons, but because of will. As the ship's systems rebooted under foreign command, and Valkyrie crew members followed orders from distant voices they couldn't disobey, Neyral Lith sat alone in the dim, pulsing chamber, finally understanding what it meant to be afraid, not as a physiological reaction, but as a recognition of truth. The truth that some forces in the galaxy were not meant to be studied or provoked, but respected. And that humans, once seen as chaotic and primitive, were something else entirely. Survivors, yes. Scientists, explorers, builders. But above all, they were something the galaxy had never truly faced before, something capable of turning survival into strength, fear into focus, and loss into unbreakable resolve. Her people had underestimated them, thinking the human mind could be broken by fear and isolation. But what Neyral now knew was that humanity had been tempered in those very fires for generations. The galaxy had watched their storms, read their wars, counted their scars, and still missed the lesson. Earth wasn't just dangerous. It was the birthplace of danger made self-aware. A predator born from prey. A reckoning dressed in civility. And now it was here.